Did you know that you're the most important storyteller in your life? I have about 10 minutes. Let's talk about it. Did you know that you are the most important storyteller in your life? And this is why I say this. You write every story that you ever think about the world, about who you are. Okay. So have you ever had an experience where you walked into a place and as soon as you walked in, there was another person there and they gave you a funny look? What did your brain do? Did your brain go, that person gave me a funny look? They must think I'm weird. This person gave me a funny look. I must be in the wrong place. Oh, this person gave me a funny look. They're judging me. Oh, this person gave me a funny look. I hope they're okay. I wonder what happened. Oh, this person gave me a funny look. I wonder if they were looking at someone behind me. Oh, this person gave me a funny look. Maybe they have gas, right? Maybe they're in pain. What does your brain do with the information that it receives? How does it categorize and file that information? Because that is your plug in to power. That's where you really have your whole power, is how do I make meaning of the circumstances that show up in my world, right? This is perception. This is perception. I will have this water bottle with me and I will be perceived by others in a particular way according to the types of stories that they write and what they believe to be true about this water bottle. Do you know what I mean? So when we can really dive into this and start practicing this and start reviewing, how do I make meaning in the world? That's when we take control. That's when like the gates open and you have arrived to the power control panel. Okay. Because you are going to start to see things differently. And isn't that the definition of a miracle? Right? In the Course of Miracles, there is a line that says, a miracle is a shift in perception. That's a miracle. This is how you live a life full of miracles. Okay. Is you remember that, oh my goodness, guess what? I was born with the ability to write stories, and the stories that I write are not in books. They're not in journals, and they're not on Substack. They are in my brain. And when we look at what stories have I written, we can look at what our beliefs are. It gives us this beautiful, powerful opening to see, what do I really believe? What am I committed to? What are my conditions, right? We all have them. We all have beliefs and commitments and conditions that we walk around with every single day. And the beautiful thing about this awareness is that we also have the ability to change the beliefs and the conditions and the commitments that we make every single day if we can become aware and take action on the fact that we can rewrite the story. And this is something that is done in narrative therapy, where you can go back and write the story differently. And this happens so often in all of my career, because what we'll do, and I've done this for myself tons of times, is I'll go back to something that happened and I will have experienced it from a certain perspective, right? I will have experienced it from a particular lens. You know, there was a point in my world where, let me give you a tangible example, where I was single, right? I was single and I was available for dating, and I was like, okay, I'm open to meeting the one. And I could have written the story that I wasn't lovable, that I wasn't going to find anybody, that I wasn't going to ever be in a relationship because I had already been married and I was divorced and I already had a kid. And I could write tons of stories. And you hear people living according to those stories all the time, right? You can go online right now and find somebody in the comment section who is living according to that story right now. And what I learned to do was I learned to write a different story. I learned to write the story that I am lovable, that I am imperfect, I'm perfectly imperfect, that I am available to love and be loved well by someone, that I am learning to love me fully, completely, wholly, totally, and that God has someone for me. And if God has someone for me, then maybe I will run into them and we'll have a beautiful relationship, and maybe I won't. And either way, I will be a full, complete, embodied, joyful, peaceful, dynamic woman, no matter what. And so when it comes to writing stories, is there a place in your life or places in your life where you get to write a story and you get to look at a different way of narrating that story. And I encourage you to narrate honestly. And what I mean by honestly is take out the judgment, take out the judgment, take out the assumptions. Don't fill in any gaps on behalf of the other person or the other people or God. Like, really write from an honest place. The honest place was, I'm a divorced person who had a son who wasn't dating anybody. And for some people, that would make me unlovable. That would make me not a candidate to date them. And that's perfectly fine. For other people, it held no weight. They didn't care if I was divorced. They didn't care if I had a son. And for some people, they think it's a wonderful thing because now I've lived and learned and I have a lot of wisdom through that experience, right? And they have a son and they love that I have a son because there's more of me to love, right? They love kids. They would love the opportunity to contribute to my life and my son's life. And so you see how many different narratives those are? There's hundreds of those different narratives for even just one scenario, just one situation. There's limitless possibility, right? And so as you think about, okay, how am I making meaning in the world? Ask yourself, am I an author that writes stories for my benefit, like true benefit, not ego benefit? Am I writing stories so that I can feel right? That's an ego benefit. Am I writing stories in a way that I always feel right, that I always feel justified, that I always feel like I can maintain this mask of people pleaser or good girl, or avoid the healing work I need to do with myself, or create space, right, to keep myself safe from a potential emotional harm, right? And so really looking at, am I writing this story honestly? And honestly means it's all facts. And then I get to choose if I'm going to add judgments, consciously, intentionally choose if you're going to add judgments and then own those judgments. Consciously choose how you want to write that story based on the person that you intend to be in the world, right? Because this is beyond right and wrong. We're playing in an advanced space where we're not looking at right and wrong. We're not assuming that life is fair because we know good and well that life is not fair. What we're looking at is we're looking at who am I going to be? And in order for me to be this version of myself, what stories support that? What narrative supports that? And this will invite you into deeper creativity, into deeper levels of perception, more dynamic levels of perception. Can I see my point of view? Can I see their point of view? I see two doors in front of me. Is there a third door I'm not seeing? Is there another possibility for me? And this is where, I love social media for this because I think that so much inspiration can come from social media, so much possibility and so much proof can come from social media, right? Especially when I was starting my business, it was like, I had no idea if I could be successful at business or not. I had never done it before, but I knew through social media that there were other people who were having success in business. I knew that their level of intelligence was about the same as mine. So if they could figure it out, I could figure it out, right? That's a narrative. If they can figure it out, I can figure it out. That is a really, really empowering narrative. And so my intention was to be the woman who wrote empowering stories for myself. My intention is to be the most empowered narrator I can for me and for other people in my life, for everyone in my life. It's like, can I teach myself and discipline myself to being the writer of empowering narratives for myself and others? And that's when so much begins to manifest and so much begins to come to fruition and so much gets to be experienced, is because it doesn't matter what shows up for me in circumstance. Now I'm in the creator's seat, right? It doesn't matter what shows up to me in circumstance. I am going to be able to write an empowering narrative for myself and others, right? A great example of this is the world stage right now, right? There's so much happening globally. And there's so many people who go, oh my God, it's awful, it's terrible, it's this, it's that. And it's like, yeah, it is. And my narrative is, how can I help? How can I do something about it? How can I contribute? How can I step in? What skill sets do I have? What knowledge do I have? What people do I know that I can begin to leverage and make my mark in the transformation of this, even if it's small, right? Even if it's small, that's the empowering narrative. The empowering narrative is to say, yeah, I can acknowledge the hurt and the harm and the fear and the pain and the shame and the guilt and the angst and the fear. I can acknowledge the presence of that. And then in my story, I can ask myself, so how do I show up? Who do I be? And what story am I telling myself about the world stage? I'm telling myself the story that it's an honor to be born during this time. My soul is learning so many lessons here. My spirit is excited to contribute in the ways that I can. I'm excited to take the actions that I need to take. I'm excited to be part of something that's bigger than me, right? That's an example of an empowering narrative. So my question to you is, where in your life do you get to begin writing empowering narratives? And if you said everywhere, I'm cheering for you, because let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Have a great day.